All right, we're going to do a slightly different type of video, doing a quick roof leak inspection on this, diagnose the issues, what's going on. This is an area I don't normally work at, northern Indiana, but the guy found me on YouTube, so I figured I'd come. And I think there's some stuff we can learn, so we're going to dig into it. So I believe originally he's got some issues going on with this, either a leak and making noise, like a rattling when it blows. It's on the southern slope here, so the wind's blowing and it catches it, makes noise. So we're going to dig into the most common causes of that and what I think this one is doing, as well as the potential leak. So first, this is a 636, I believe. It's the larger. I was expecting it to be the RVK1A. Okay, so the smaller ones for a bathroom shower fan or something of that nature. So they're almost identical to this, but they're smaller. This is bigger. So if you look up under here, the 636s, if that is what it is, I believe it is, and the RVK1As, there is a damper up here. If you can see it behind this mesh, there's a little damper. It does not take much pressure or PSI to lift up. You turn on the fan, a couple PSI, lifts up, blows the air out. All that's really to do is to drop down when it's off to keep the draw from the wind going back down in. Sometimes those kind of flap in there. What I think this is actually doing though is the fact that it's completely loose on the bottom here. You can hear the noise. And if you look at that, try to set the phone down sturdy still here. All right, so we're gonna talk about how it's typically fastened, where I would fasten it. But before we do that, let's talk about the fastener, the potential leak that's going on this. It's a little bit bigger on the backside than a standard RVK1A. Water hits, it's got to divert around the two sides. Typically, you want to leave a slight channel like this for the water to run through. Unfortunately, a lot of flanges, whether it's this or the RVKs or plastic boots, aluminum boots, galvanized boots, doesn't matter. The flanges aren't very wide. So off the edge where the water channel would be, coming over to the shingle to dry it in, so if you have water coming down it, they're not very wide. It's only about 1.5 inches. So we're going to talk about that in the nail placement. And nail placement honestly would fix this issue here. So looking up under this, it's kind of hard to see, but you can clearly see a dirty water trail. For a trained eye, you can see something right in the very center of the screen. I'll try to point it out here. Right there. That's a rusted nail head. You can kind of see the bottom side and the right side is rusted, gone. You can see the dirty water trail getting up under here. So they did caulk it, but it's caulked to the headlap. So the headlap is the shingle underneath here that you don't see that protects the keyway above. You don't normally want to seal like this. You can, but if in this case you're sealing the bottom and not this piece here, and you have a puncture, tear, keyway, something in the wrong area, it's going to allow water to come up under there. So that nail I would not have put there. I would have put it further over. I would not have put the caulking here. And in some rare cases, maybe you need to. In a case like it's a repair and you want to stop it to leak, the least evasive is to caulk this completely. During the actual install, the best thing to do to eliminate both these issues, looking at the flange down here and the shingle, you're going to run your shingles up far enough to get under, so water splitting down off your flange here, if it were to wick out, seep over, water surface tension, whatever, come off this 1.5 inch flange here, you want it to be on the shingle headlap here so it comes out, not under the row of shingles. So this shingle, typically most shingle manufacturers, the headlap will go up about 1.25 inches or so past the headlap of the next common bond, okay? So here's the shingle. Here's the reveal line. There's the next shingle, and the common bond is where these two pieces are sealed together. It comes up past the next shingle about that far. That way, any keyway you have, they're all staggered far enough that the shingles are up far enough to cover the keyways. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I'll have to draw it on a whiteboard or show you on some shingle props. So knowing that, when you have a larger flange like this, you got to run this one up under far enough to catch the water. All right, but if it's up to here, is about as far as it goes. Any water on this section, if it comes off of that flange, if it makes that trek over, it is now on your roof deck or your paper of whatever sort you have, which in that case, it's going to run under your row of shingles and cause problems down the road. During a larger vent like this install, we will use a piece of ice and water in this region above the shingle. Let me clear this notification. Higher up, coming down, and it's important to get it on top of the headlap of the shingle here. Then you proceed on. Also, on a side note, if you have a shingle and a high enough issue or whatever you're going around here has a top of a shingle, so for example this shingle right here, the headlap is going to have a point. Okay, if it's past the highest point of the vent or whatever you're going around, you're okay. If it's down low where water's going to come and catch, it's very possible, I've seen this a lot over the years, where it catches that. Again, water surface tension wicks sideways over, it's off your flange, causes an issue. So nip those at a slight little corner, so if water hits it, it's hitting that corner and gravity's gonna, surface tension, gravity gonna pull it down and not over laterally. Another notification, sorry about that. Lost my train of thought here. So yeah, the ice and water under it, then you continue on and you nip the corners. Now caulking, I don't typically caulk it like this. I also want to leave a slight channel like they did here for water to run out. Where I do caulk it though underneath there is over at the edge of the flange. So you are sticking your shingle to the flange, but you're not getting it to where the water channel should be, and possibly like on this side, coming over your caulking under your row of shingles, or completely bypassing the sealed part of the shingle because it's over here, right? And it wicks off and goes off the side of your flange. So as far as the nail placement on it, once you've got your shingle run up under sufficiently far, any potential ice and water or flashings of any sort to extend the flanges of these that are way too small, then you're going to seal it or secure it to the roof deck. On the top corners, usually where we nail them down, again, they don't have a very big flange up on the top usually, so you want to make sure you're watching. I don't usually nail too much here unless for some reason it needs it. Once those are nailed off, I don't do down the side here. I usually do the bottom part of the flange, but now to be clear, I don't do the far outer edge or the far low edge due to water surface tension. Water coming off your roof over time, seeping under this will surface tension, capillary action, whatever you want to call it, it's going to work its way under. If you have a nail on the bottom edge, anywhere on the edge or anywhere on the bottom, it's going to work its way into that. Same on the bottom, it wicks up under. So we try to typically bring ours up and in a bit. That way if any water comes in, it's not going to move over far, but it will protect it. That also keeps it from flipping up. Now the other spot that I try to nail is not the flange where the water flows like they did on this side here. We try to nail the shingle as we install it, so this shingle here in the common bond near the flange but not close enough into that flange. Again, this shingle would be installed and we would nail up in this area here. Hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what to do here and how to go about an install of one of these. Because this is in the condition it is in, the shingle granules have quite a bit of loss of a granule, at least on the south slopes here. You can see there's a lot of asphalt showing. The granules are lifting. They're probably going to be pretty brittle. When you start seeing fiberglass in your shingle like that, doing a repair is very risky because it's easy to tear them. They don't have the rigidity they need to actually hold up being split apart. And a skilled roofer will probably more than likely be like, you know what, I'm not going to get into it, because if you tear this to do it the right way, you need to take it out, which means you got to take this one loose and you tear this one. And you're like, well, okay, well, now I've got to take this one out because it's damaged. So you got to loosen this up, right? And you just repeat the process. Next thing you know, you're doing a whole section. So in this case, they are fatigued to the point where I don't know that I really want to get into them. So due to the collateral damage here of the repair, I think if it was a leak, it's going to be caused because of the nail that's up under here, and the noise is because of this. I would probably squirt a little sealer under the bottom edge, put a screw in this. You know, most of the time, a nail are sufficient. It just holds with friction in the wood. Ideally, screws are going to be better, like a little self-tapping screw for steel roof, exposed fastener, that little rubber ring. It'll pin that down, and the threads are going to be in the wood holding it down. And then goop this up really good and seal this off after you seal some under here. Again, just because of the condition of the roof. If the roof looked like it wasn't going to be tearing and causing a lot of damage, I'd probably opt for removing this, replacing it, or popping it out, replacing the shingles all around it anyways, to guarantee there's going to be no leak. So we'll do a quick look at this other vent here. Now I don't know what's going on with this. I can hear it running. I've never seen a shower fan come up vertically like this. Reason being is rainwater goes into this. Typically it's your vent pipes. So I'm wondering if this might be one of those, oh shoot, what do you call those? The gas, argon, not argon, what am I thinking? Help me out here, people, in the comments. It typically comes from the foundation under the ground, under your home, and you've got to get it to vent out. I can't think of it, I'm drawing a massive blank. Most of the time we see them come up out of a foundation up over a gutter edge. I have seen them in the roof, and I'm wondering if that might be what this is. As far as the flange here, you can kind of see a very similar thing where the nails are way too low like I was describing. There's one more. Try to be careful here, because that side is pretty wore out. And there's actually a nice bit of little granule loss on this whole thing. Oh, we got two more. Probably should have threw my cougar paws on or grabbed a cushion. Oh, I got a little treat to explain here. All right, so on this one here, any skilled roofer would see this and be like, nope, not gonna work. We're gonna throw a little offset tab. So during a new roof install or replacement roof, when you're throwing these shingles down, again, same process, you gotta go under far enough before you put your boot on. And knowing that this keyway is right here, when you get ready to cut this shingle, you're gonna obviously know the keyway is right near your flange here. Not a good idea. Water coming in this keyway now can easily travel that little ½ inch right there and come off and get under the flange now. And then your flange from here to here, the shingle underneath it, the headlap is cut. So there's a big margin of error, not a big margin of error, where water could be wicking up under that. So that could be an issue simply if there's a leak, just because of that. Also, keep an eye on your gaskets. Usually that's the first thing to go. And I'm not a fan of plastic because over time they do crack. When you shoot nails, especially pneumatics, or even a hand-driven nail for that matter, if you don't pre-drill and remove the material and you simply drive a new nail in, however you do it, it forces that energy, that material out, pushes the material out of the way, and puts stresses, and over time it can crack. I've seen a lot of those cracks up in here, and when water comes down, it causes an issue. I try to stay away from the plastic ones. This one is typically a standard vent pipe. And if I can zoom in, you might be able to see what I can see. It goes down into the attic area, and before, it's not going to focus. You can kind of see a little bit of a light in there. I need a flashlight or something to show you. Anyway, just down in there into the attic, it'll actually reduce to a smaller diameter. And what that does, it goes typically in a wall down into the sewer system area. So when you flush a toilet or drain a tub or washer, air can come in behind it. Otherwise, it'll cause a vacuum and suck your P-traps out. And the reason it expands bigger up in the attic area is to allow for frost. At least in our area, these can restrict up due to the frost, so they have a larger one. When it goes down to where it's warmer near the insulation in the attic, that's where they reduce to go into a wall. This pipe is definitely different than that one over there. Man, there's a lot of granule loss everywhere on this. Now, some storm restoration guys would probably be like, damn it, Ryan, that's hail. That's hail damage. Yeah, no, there could be some hail in here, but it's just an older shingle. Anyway. Ooh. Yeah, same thing. It's kind of a sloppy cut from the original install. The seal on the gasket is okay. Looks like another vent pipe. Down in there, I don't know if you can see it. I can see it clearly. Camera may not be picking it up. There's a lot of moisture. You can see the condensation down the walls down in there. That's again why these size differences are. Here in my area, I'm not going to give the town away, but I'm not far from Michigan. So we're definitely cold here in this area. Even in my area, Kokomo, we get cold weather. It's below freezing all this week. We're up to about 45, 50 right now. The moisture coming up condensates and freezes when the conditions are right. But again, as far as the install, pretty sloppy looking vent install here. Yeah. See if there's another one. I think that's it. That looks like it's it. Right, so to wrap up here, probably gonna just caulk some things. I'm not really gonna take them out due to the fact of the shingle condition. The shingles here, I don't want to be replacing the whole section. I said in other videos, when you're going to look to quote a repair, one of the things you want to do is just grab a flat bar and see if they split apart pretty easy. Now that's one thing, but the shingles you also want to make sure are thick enough that they're actually not going to get damaged lifting them and taking out. Because let me go to that real quick. Well, sorry about that. I ran out of phone storage. Had to delete some files, and this will have to be a quick wrap up because I don't have a lot of recording time left. So what I was saying about the shingles here, to get this shingle out, you're gonna need to take, well, let's do one out of the valley here. To get this shingle out, you're gonna have to take this seal strip loose, you're gonna have to take this seal strip loose, you're gonna have to pop all the nails out of the one above, the one you want to remove it. Now when you put the new one back in, you're also gonna have to be able to flex the shingle up enough to drive the nails in, near the end, skip the keyway area, and down, space throughout, and then the top row above. But when you lift those shingles, when they're compromised due to the integrity of them, loss of asphalt and granule, they're not very rigid, they're fragile, you break them, and that's where the issues arise. So you want to make sure they're able to be split apart if you're going to quote a repair, and make sure they're in decent enough condition that can actually deal with the repair. A quick analogy, if you're going to do like some pruning on a plant or a tree, right, you got to make sure the tree is in good enough condition to withstand the damage that's going to be happening to it. Anyway, it's getting really windy now. My phone's about to stop because I don't have the storage, so if you could give it a thumbs up if you liked it, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm gonna have to let this thing download to the hard drive on the drive home. Until next time, be safe. We'll see you on the next one.